Chapter 7. The Cold Mart. The thirst was a living creature inside Liam, a parasite with claws and teeth, scraping his throat raw and pounding a feverish drum against the inside of his skull. He was adrift on his sofa, marooned in the spectral sea that was once his living room. The dark, sloshing water was a canvas for his sins. The vases of the dead surfaced and submerged in the brine with a silent, languid rhythm, their eyes following him. The hiker, the camper, the jogger, their final moments of terror played on a loop, a silent film festival crocketed by hell itself. He had tried to close his eyes, to shut out the ghostly parade, but the images were burnt onto his retinas. Worse, when his eyes were shut, he saw only one thing: the drowned man's smile, that ghastly curve of the lips on a dead face, promising an eternity of this. He was a prisoner in his own head, his memories weaponized against him. A wave of pure, incandescent rage, fueled by dehydration and primal fear, surged through him. It was a hot, violent countercurrent to the oppressive cold that filled the room. He was Liam Corbin. He was the one who decided who lived and who died. He was the god of his own small world. He would not be unmade by a senile ghost and his silent, watery choir. The reflections. It was always the reflections. They were the windows Arthur used to peer into his world, the portals through which this saltwater scourge had flooded his life. He had covered the TV, turned the picture frames, but he had forgotten the biggest one. The one he faced every morning, a monument to his own handsome deceit, the bathroom mirror. He shoved himself off the sofa, landing with a splash in the ankle-deep spectral water. It was colder than ever, a shocking, numbing cold that felt like it was trying to freeze his blood. He waded through the apartment, his steps clumsy and sloshing. It was a Herculean effort, his muscles screaming from dehydration, his body a frail, trembling thing. The water seemed to cling to him, to suck at his ankles, a physical manifestation of the ghost's will trying to pull him down. He slammed the bathroom door open, the sound echoing off the cold tiles. The room was a wreck. The toilet, having overflowed, continued to weep a slow, steady stream of brine onto the floor. The air was thick with the stench of salt and something else, something like wet grave dirt. He faced the mirror. His own reflection stared back, a horrifying stranger. His face was gaunt, his skin stretched tight over his cheekbones, his eyes wild, bloodshot pools of madness. And behind him, looming like a thunderhead, was Arthur Vance. He was clearer now, more solid, as if Liam's terror were feeding him, giving him substance. His soaked cardigan dripped endlessly onto the spectral water at his feet. The hollows of his eyes were black holes that promised nothing but a cold, final oblivion. And flanking him, like spectral honor guards, were the shimmering, transparent forms of his other victims. They were all there, a silent jury box assembled in the mirror world. It was too much. The sight shattered the last thin veneer of his sanity. A raw, guttural scream tore from his throat, a sound of pure animal rage and abject despair. He needed to break it. He needed to smash the window and blind his tormentors. His wild eyes landed on the heavy porcelain toilet tank lid he had dropped earlier. It lay half submerged in the brackish water. He snatched it up, the ceramic cold and slick in his hands. It was a piece of the real world, solid and heavy. He would use reality to shatter the nightmare. "Get out!" he shrieked, his voice cracking. With a final desperate roar, he swung the heavy lid with all his remaining strength. The impact was a deafening explosion of sound. The mirror didn't just crack, it detonated. Glass flew everywhere, a shower of razor-sharp shrapnel. For one beautiful fleeting second, he felt a surge of victory. He had done it. He had destroyed the portal. He had blinded the dead. But as the shards rained down, glittering like deadly diamonds in the dim light, he realized his catastrophic error. He hadn't destroyed the portal. He had multiplied it. 1,000 shards littered the floor, each one a new jagged window into his hell. 1,000 broken mirrors now reflected 1,000 faceted ghosts. His gaze was caught by one large, dagger-like shard tumbling through the air in what felt like slow motion. He saw not himself, but the tiled wall beside him. And standing there, reflected in the falling glass, was Arthur Vance. Not behind him, beside him an impossible angle, a violation of the laws of physics. In the shard's reflection, the ghost's head turned. Its hollow eyes met his. It raised a pale, waterlogged hand. The hand reached out, not in the reflection's world, but seemingly out of it toward his own reflected shoulder. The instant the spectral fingers in the shard made contact with his reflection, Liam felt it. The touch. It was not a sensation of pressure. It was a blast of pure, absolute cold, a physical impact of deathly energy that clamped down on his left shoulder. It was a crushing chill of the deepest, blackest part of the ocean, a cold so profound it burned like fire. It was the touch of the sandy hands from the beach, but 100 times more potent, more direct. It was the touch of the grave. He screamed, a high, thin wail of pain and shock, stumbling backwards and dropping the toilet lid with a thunderous crash. He tripped, his legs tangling beneath him, and fell hard into the shallow, frigid water covering the floor. He scrambled away from the shattered mirror, crab-walking backwards, his hand clutching his shoulder. The pain was gone, but the cold remained, a deep, persistent ache that felt like it had sunk into his very bones. His shirt was soaked, clinging to his skin. With trembling fingers, he tore at the wet cotton collar of his shirt, pulling it down to look. He caught his reflection in a large piece of the mirror still clinging to the wall. He saw his own pale, terrified face. He saw his chest, his collarbone, and he saw the mark. On the skin of his left shoulder was a handprint. It was the perfect shape of a large, wrinkled hand with long, slender fingers. But it wasn't a bruise of purple and black. The skin itself was stained a sickening, mottled blue-gray, the color of wet parchment, the color of a body left in the water for too long. The texture of the skin within the handprint seemed different, puckered and wrinkled, as if it had been permanently waterlogged. It was a bruise made of shadow and seawater, a stain that had soaked through his flesh and marked him to the bone. He touched it with his right hand. His own fingertips came away feeling numb, the skin of the mark shockingly, unnaturally cold. It wasn't a hallucination. It wasn't a trick of his failing mind. This was real, a brand, a physical scar left by a ghost. Arthur Vance had reached out of the mirror world, through the barrier of reality itself, and put his hand on him. He had left his cold, dead signature on Liam's living flesh. He was no longer just the haunted, he was the claim.